Good evening. Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Tom here. Another away fan show. We'll be talking to Jacob from the... God, I've lost it already. Canary Cast, building up to Saturday's game. Well, at the moment, he's going ahead. We were just having a laugh about it. That will the game go ahead? Won't it go ahead on the weekend? We'll be talking all things Norwich. Speaking about their season so far, it's been a struggle in the Premier League for those boys, but we'll see. We know what Leicester City are like. We beat one of the big boys and then go and fluff it against the relegation teams who always seem to have a fun of games at the King Power, like Norwich did a few seasons ago with a 1-1 draw. Sit back. For the next 30 minutes, we'll talk things Leicester City and Norwich.
Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Are you ready for the show? Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. We want your views, we want your comments, so join us live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's get some hellos in there. Good evening, Councillor. How are you, sir? Hope you're doing okay. Any update on the Norrish request? Not yet. Farg said they've asked for the game to be postponed. I think they've got like 10 injuries, something stupid, and COVID cases, plus more injuries. It's like 13 or 14 players out. I know they had a depleted team at Palace at the weekend. Jack, good evening. Zachary, good evening, or afternoon from the States. Great to have you on board as always. Good evening, sir. Norwich game won't go ahead, unfortunately. Well, time will tell in the next probably 48 hours or 24 hours. Hopefully they call up, like I've said, early off early enough, because like we saw the other week, the Burnley fans travelling all the way down to Villa and then getting called off 2 hours before. It's not fair on the fans at the end of the day. Fee, good evening. Let's get started. Let's get Jacob in from the Canary Cast and let's have a chat about Norwich. Good evening, Jacob.
Hi, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. How are you, sir? You okay?
Good. Yeah, until I have to talk about Norwich, I'm absolutely brilliant. Cheers.
Let's start off, mate. You start the season with Daniel Fargar as your manager. Manager that had been with you 4 seasons, if I remember rightly. You'd had gone up, down, bit of a yo-yo, but you'll win the championship for fun every time. This season you came up and obviously you had a tough start against Arsenal, Liverpool, and then faced us. And you should have got something for the game, goal disallowed. It should have been a 2-2 draw, and Leicester fans, I think, were quite happy to walk away with that 3 points at the beginning of the season. You've now brought in Dean Smith. Your record speaks for itself. Played 19, won 2, drawn 4, lost 13. Only scored 8 goals all season in the Premier League. Conceded 42 with a goal difference of 34 and not 1 in 5, as the form table will see, with 10 points. But we need you to get 1 win, because Derby got to keep that record, mate, for a little bit longer. Yeah. We can't let Derby have that record, please. It's not good, How's it, how do you feel it's changed? You sacked one manager, you brought in Dean Smith, the ex-Villa boss, you had a couple of good results, and now it seemed to gone back the other way. So what's happened since Dean Smith's come into the football club and the change from Daniel to Dean?
Yeah, it's like you say, a kind of upturn of form. I think everyone's kind of looked at it and said it's almost peters out. It's not really the case, We've had a couple of very close, we lost 3-0 to Spurs, but had 4 golden opportunities which had to take, and they just took the only 3 they had, which one was a worldie, the other was a mistake, and the third was just kind of us knackered. We really should have got a point from Spurs, realistically, and then played Man U. I think it's fair to say Man U were really poor, and again should have won. We should have easily won that game. Just like you said, 8 goals all season, 5 from Teemu Pukki, who will be out for the Leicester game most probably if it goes ahead. We just don't score enough, and then we concede silly goals. I think it's more of when we're chasing the games, we do then go on and concede another 1 or 2. It's since he's come in though, Dean Smith, like I say, before the injuries, before COVID, we were looking a lot more competitive. I think Norwich fans were thinking, you know what, we've got a chance here, and then, like I say, injuries and COVID just completely depletes our squad. We've got defensive midfielder playing centre back. We've got a left winger coming back from long COVID who didn't play at all last season, who's probably one of our better players. We're just missing our main midfielder, our main winger, and now our main striker. And whereas you guys, I know, have a lot of defensive injuries, you can at least pick up points inconsistently, but pick up points at this level. We can't. We need a full squad, and ours at the minute is mid-table championship at best. As you said, we got battered by Palace, and that was about 4 or 5 of their best players, and we will get battered by every team until our players come back. If the game goes ahead, I have not a single bit of doubt that Norwich will lose that game, and that pains me to say it, but we're not even a championship kind of top 6 squad at the minute with all the injuries we've got.
We were talking about Phil Common because obviously Leicester now lost Vardy for the game. One of your nemesis always seems to get a goal at Carroll Road. He's out for 3 to 4 weeks now. After the weekend, though, we're in the same predicament. We might have lost a lot of defenders, but going forward, from next weekend, we lose Daniel Amate to the African Cup of Nations. Wilfred and Didi, this is our centre-back partnership, who are both really technical midfielders, will leave. Nacho disappears, and Mendy barely plays for us, but he'll go. That's 4 more players who leave us. That leaves us with literally Daka up front. When he returns, he's not fit. He's not available at the moment. So at the moment, we literally have Nacho as a fit striker. So we have enough firepower, but as you would look at it, from Luckerman, Maddison, Tillemans in that midfield, that will cause teams problems. But defensively, as you saw against Man City, we can't defend it. And the surprise probably was the Liverpool game the other night, where we completely in 2 days or a day and a half from playing changed our defensive corner routine. We scrapped this zonal marking system, and we went back to good old-fashioned man-to-man marking, 2 men on the post, and went old school. And I don't know if it surprised Liverpool. I don't know if it's Leicester just went, it ain't working. We're now 19 games in, and we can't defend from corners and set pieces and anyway. So let's go old school. And the result came from hard work really against Liverpool. We now come to a game against Norwich, who would say probably one of our bogey teams at home. We don't seem to get great results at home to Norwich. But like you say, you boys know Timo Pukki, depleted squad going into it. Someone asked a very good question. I've heard it. I'd seen the video from the other day. What do you think of the stick Billy Gilmour has been getting? Is it harsh, or do it seems a bit an unfair chance to have a go at a young lad who's come to you on loan? I understand you're paying his wages, and fans have a right to chant and stuff, but to pick on someone who sounds like he's not had a bad season for you guys, and it seems like he's been made of scapegoat because he's from Chelsea at the weekend playing Palace. What's your view on Billy Gilmour's the stick he's got?
Yeah, that video was really bad. You see a few of them pop up from each fan group kind of each year about a player or something, and I would say 90% of Norwich fans would say that's a disgusting video because it's just not fair. What is he, 20, 21 years old, doesn't deserve that stick. And like you say, he's one of those players who the expectation is so high because a lot of Chelsea fans love him, media absolutely love him. The thing with us is we're playing him in a completely wrong position and kind of playing him in that defensive midfield role on his own, which for a 5'6", 20-year-old slight kid, as you can imagine, everyone goes through him and past him and everything. He keeps trying to get on the ball and trying to make things happen, which of course makes him lose the ball because the rest of our midfield, to be honest, is awful. I'd love to swear and be able to say all the words under the sun. It is that midfield. It is just really, really bad. Kenny McLean, Pierre-Lee Malou have been really, really kind of mid-championship standard recently. So he's the only one trying to get on the ball, trying to kind of dictate play, and it's just not happening. He's never shying away from getting the ball, never shying away from a challenge. He's just massively overrunning that midfield, and as we can see, like an Ndidi, when he is in midfield, he's got that kind of battering ram athleticism. Norwich just don't have that, and we get cut through time and time again. It would be James Maddison's dream to play against us if he's fit and ready to go and if Saturday goes ahead, because he'll just pick up pockets quite easily and be able to dictate play very, very comfortably. But yeah, he's not the problem. He's not playing brilliantly, Gilmour, but when the team is as bad and depleted as it is at the minute, you can't really stand out compared to the rest of the teams who are just overpowering us and kind of got a lot more quality at the minute.
We'll come back to football. There's something's been put on here, and I'll ask you. It was what I weren't going to ask you, but seeing it's been mentioned, what do you think about the racist remarks from the Norwich fans? I mean, it's in a time when we're in the 21st century, and people still think, and probably all go down to, I was drunk, it was a silly mistake. Well, no, you can't do it anymore. It doesn't happen. It should never happen in life. But what's your thoughts as a Norwich fan to the idiots, and we'll call them idiots, who have tarnished your football club fan base in some ways with these remarks?
Yeah, again, absolutely disgusting. I don't care. We put a tweet out about it, and it was to Adam Eder, who hasn't been brilliant, but in terms of footballing wise, we've kind of stalled his career. But like you say, take away the football, doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what they're doing. If they score 25 own goals, that is a complete and utter disgusting, kind of despicable act. How you can kind of offend someone based on the color of their skin, based on their religion, whatever, it's completely wrong and something that needs to be stamped out. And hopefully, whoever, if it is, or if there were a few kind of seem like bot accounts, if they are Norwich fans, hopefully they're found and never get to be kind of put into football grounds again, because they don't represent our club. It's completely disgusting, and hopefully they, like I say, stay far away from football, because it's just not right at all.
I mean, we talk about going back to the game tomorrow, mate. Now, proper football is all about. I mean, there's a few players. Campbell, what has gone off with him? You know, this young lad who was the next big thing, another probably James Maddison-esque kind of player. Flair likes at the ball, more of a winger than a central midfielder, but likes, or a 10, but likes to pick up the ball in pockets on the wing and run at people, go past people for fun at times. He seemed to disappear from this season, and he's only seemed to got back in the team under Dean for one game against Villa, and then not been around again. What's gone off with Campbell over this last 12 months, really?
So bizarre with Todd, because the first time we came up into the Premier League, not one Norwich fan expected him to be in the first team. He'd really very, very bit part player in the Championship, winning title the first time round, and then he kind of just delivered on the Premier League stage, scored 6 goals, which is incredible considering how bad we were a couple of years ago. And he just kind of was a big game player, really. Kind of loved the Chelsea games, played well against Leicester, I remember, as well, and all those kind of big teams that came to Carrow Road, and we did all right against, really, competed with all of them. He was a big part in it. Then in the summer, obviously got relegated. There seemed to be a lot of talk, probably media talk rather than actual bids, and his head went. He said that himself. He's quite a big time Charlie. I think that's fair to say to him. If there is talk, he will get influenced by it. The Championship, he didn't really kind of kick on until the start of 2021, and then kind of from January to May did well. And then since then, it's been a bit of injury, a bit of COVID kind of restrictions as well. He's kind of been in and around people who have had COVID, and he's just been in the couple of games he's played against Southampton and Villa. He's looked so unfit, like ridiculously. You just look at him and go, I mean, I could run around more than you, because that's all of his game's based upon is his engine and being able to get up and down the pitch quickly. Because, like you say, normally plays on the left wing. He's got the talent there. I think, to be honest, his ego oversights his talent. To me, can't even think of, he's absolutely nowhere near James Maddison's quality. He always backed himself a lot and had a big ego, but he provided it with absolute superb displays. And for me, Todd will never get to that level. I think absolute maximum he'll be a Nathan Redmond, who left us, who kind of, is one of those you go, oh, he's still in the Prem sort of thing. I don't think he'll ever match that talent that matches his ego. He's an okay player when he's not playing well. I mean, you want to kind of in and out, and when he's on his day, he's a decent Premier League level player, which has kind of gone through every level that we thought he would. We probably thought he's only ever going to be a Championship player, but if we can get 15 million for him, I'd be happy to see him gone, because he seems to disrupt too much. He's a Norwich lad. I think that sometimes he gets a bit too much stick from that. We do that with our local lads sometimes, just kind of heap a lot more pressure on it than it needs to be. But he's very, very un-Norwich in the way he's very kind of out there, loves to go out and, just very kind of, loves to show off his brand, his image. And when he's not playing well, that always gets thrown back against him.
I mean, we talk about confidence, and you said about he's struggled a bit. I mean, beginning of the season, James Maddison was very similar. And James Maddison turned around and went to Rodgers, drop me. I'm not playing well. I don't deserve to be in the team, and I don't feel I'm up to it. And fair play. Rodgers went, okay, if that's how you feel and it's not working out. Rodgers then spent a week over one international break and sat down with Madders and spent a week going through videos of his time at Leicester and went, this is the Madders we need. You need to be doing this. You need to go back to basics. You're working your game too much. I think the whole thing getting in England, in and around the England team went to his head a bit. A few other things had gone to him. I think the COVID party as well. He was involved with that at Leicester. And there was a few things. He then had this niggling hip injury where you could not shake off, and it hampered him. It really did hamper him. I mean, he played a big part in the final because obviously he wasn't fully fit. This season, again, he had this hip injury. But it was nice to hear a football player come out and say, I actually has to be dropped. That takes guts as a football player to admit, I'm not playing well. I'm going to admit it to them, Gaffer. I'm going to admit to everyone else I don't deserve to be in a team, and I need to be dropped. And fair play to him. You know, it takes some doing. I've got to put this up because he's one of my favourite players as well. He used to play for you. Ask Grant Hall to come out of retirement to play for you. He's not a bad wrestler either.
yeah. Absolutely love Grant Hall. He was absolutely fantastic. And to be honest, could do a lot better job than the couple of backup strikers we have to Teemu Pukki at the minute, to be honest.
What did one of the lads put a light on it? Because I remember this game as well. I remember when Norwich came to Leicester in 2011. The fans were amazing back in the Championship. You've got a good fan base. I've always said that. You always fill your allocation. You never shy away. Wherever you are, you boys, you're same as Leeds. You always feel whatever you're given, you'll fill the allocation. You've got a very, very sound base. A couple of players really want to pick up on. One is Kieran Dao, former Everton man, if I remember rightly. So another big young prospect coming through their academy. Left and joined you last season with it. I think he'd been in the Championship with you as well. What's really happened with him? Because he was another one that sounded like he had a big future in the game and he was going to go places. And again, it sounded like he'd come to you because he'd had a good season in the Championship and that he could be your creative player you were looking for. He seemed to have just dropped off a little bit in the Premiership, or is he just not up to the standards?
He's a baffling one because, like you say, he won the Under-17 World Cup with all the other kind of Phil Foden and all those. And it's a weird one with him because he's good on the ball, but you can go 70 minutes of that game and not know he's in the game at all, like playing. And he's massively frustrating because if he does play it on the weekend or if the game goes ahead, whenever you see him next, you'll watch him and go, he's got very lethargic kind of game type. Like we had Emi Buendia, who was here, there, everywhere, ran kind of ragged and wouldn't stop running. And with Kieran, it just seems like he's almost on like autopilot a lot of the time. It's like you just want to kick him up the backside and go, right, run. Because he just doesn't. I don't know if he's capable of being able to run. That's not me kind of trying to be condescending. I genuinely don't know if he's got the fitness, but he just always seems like there's a lot more to go with him. Technically, he's brilliant on the ball. When he's on it, you can see there's clear quality there and how he's got through the systems and everything. And one in every 5-10 games, he'll go and score a worldy free kick or hit one from distance. So you think, yes, he's going to kind of go on and develop. But for a number 10, he doesn't really play the through balls that Teemu Pukki requires. Again, a couple of years ago when we played you guys, it was that Emi Buendia to Teemu Pukki pass. Yes. That was infamous. That was all for every opposition kind of team. They always tried to stop that because that was the Norwich game plan. Find Emi, play it through to Teemu, goal. And Kieran Dao just can't do that. He's frustrating because it'll be a bargain in terms. I think we only spent 1-2 million on him. So in the long run, he'll be worth that. But he's not Premier League level, unfortunately. Mid-table Championship at best.
And then the other player I'll talk about is someone who got linked with Bayern Munich in the summer and Barcelona, and the rumours he was going to Barcelona, and the club refused to sell him. And now you're at a point where I think his contract runs out at the end of the year, or he's into his final year. And this is Max Aarons, another prospective young English fullback who highly rated to make big stage in some ways. But what's going on with him? Do you really see this kid going to the likes of Barcelona and Bayern Munich in the next couple of years, by the sounds of it?
It's a funny one because, you could throw in a couple more. You could throw in Jose Mourinho's Roma, who put a bid in. Borussia Dortmund as well were interested. Everyone under the sun. And Tottenham had kind of flirtations with him as well before Mourinho came in, and it didn't quite happen. But he's one of those which again has come through the academy, and it's just as soon as he came in, you could just see, wow, this lad is going to be special. He's been so consistent for us this year. It seems like it's almost coming to an end now. You know, when a player's not outgrown you, but he's just kind of fluctuating. He needs that move to, again, reignite his career, I think, a little bit. He's definitely a Premier League right back. He will go on and be a very, very good fullback at Premier League level, without a shadow of a doubt. England squad is probably too difficult because the level of right backs that our country's got at the minute is ridiculous, really. But he can definitely go on and become, well, look at Ben Godfrey, who's gone to Everton from us. Max is a better footballer and a better defender than Ben Godfrey, so slightly different position, but he will go on and definitely be at that level. For me, backs off the wing a little bit too much. That's probably the only side of his game that he just gives him too much space to be able to curl one in or be able to cross it. Apart from that, and he's slightly smaller than your traditional fullback, but apart from that, he's got everything in his game. And with a real top-class manager, I'm talking like top 5, top 6, I think he could go on and do anything he wants because he can play definitely European football without a doubt.
As you go, we'll head into the game now and see what your prediction. Do you think your lineup will be? You know, how depleted are Norwich going into the game? Because Krul's not fit, is he still? Is he
Got
one of the
COVID. Yeah,
He's COVID. So I didn't know he had. I just saw at the weekend when I saw the lineup, and you had Gunn in goal, was it
yeah,
for
Angus
you?
Gunn, yeah.
And that was his first. I will say, I shouldn't say, that was his first Premier League appearance since he got drummed 9-0 by Leicester.
Yeah, got done 5-0 by Arsenal as well. So I think he's conceded about 18 goals in his last 3 games.
Yeah, as the stat goes, as said on the TV, that's his first game since Leicester 9-0. It was a bit sad for him because he's another one whose his dad used to play for you, I think, is right to think about it. And yeah, he went to Man City when he left. Did he go Man City? Yeah, he went Man City.
Yeah, he was in the youth academy, and then came back to us, then got to Southampton, and his kind of confidence seems to have just completely gone. Obviously, when a striker goes on a barren run, it's the same with him. He's just completely lost his confidence. And played against Palace, and I think if you shot straight at him, he wouldn't have saved it on the weekend. He just seems to be, again, really poor form and probably not used to playing again. Like I say, probably been a year or two since he's really been in the first team of a football club. So it's going to take a long time. I would recommend shooting from distance because I don't think he's going to be saving many on Saturday.
So what would you say your predicted lineup will be for this weekend?
It's impossible to say really, because I think there's even a couple more injuries and COVID in the squad. I think Gunn would be in goal. You could have Kabak, who's played for Liverpool on loan last season. Yes. He's not very fit. He might be able to come back in. He's very 50-50. Ben Gibson will be at centre back. Max Aarons has got COVID or an injury. They're not really saying who's injured, who's got COVID at the minute. So it could be Sam Byram, who's been out for 2 years, played against Palace at the weekend. So a couple of days later. Yes, former Leeds, West Ham as well. Always had a lot of injuries. A couple of cruciate ligaments, did his hamstring for us a couple of years ago after playing really well, and then he got a cyst and he's been out for 2 years. So for him to come back and play Premier League football is a miracle, really. Brandon Williams will probably be left back because Dimi Janulis, who was left back at the weekend, got injured. There's a trend here. Billy Gilmour, Kenny McLean will probably play in the kind of 2 midfield. Pierre-Lee Malou at number 10, Adam Eder up top. Plaheta, who was the Polish lad who hasn't played again for quite a while because of long COVID, and then there could be anyone else. To be honest, there's 10, 11 players there who are nowhere near the quality needed, and it will be a very easy day for Leicester if that is the squad.
I mean, you talk about your strike force at the moment. Obviously, you've not got Pukki up there. What's a massive loss, mate? Because I think he's another one who's just on the cusp of too good for the Championship, just about good enough for the Championship in a team who are fighting relegation or mid-table. He will score you 10 goals a season for me. Quite easily. He's got the capability to do that. You got Callum Eder, who's come through your youth academy, if I speak rightly. Very, very talked about young man. Another one who's probably confidence a bit low because he's not scored many this season. He's been dropped in at the deep end, shall we say. Probably another one who, if you had a fully fit squad, who would have gone out on loan, do you say, to the Championship and got a run of games in there?
Yeah, it's very difficult with it because for 3 years now, even just before we kind of got promoted, he was being talked about, scored a hat-trick in the FA Cup against Preston a couple of years ago, and we're like, oh, he's arrived, he's going to be brilliant. And he's not really played. I think he's played or started less than 10 games for Norwich. It has been a mixture of injuries last season, but he's one of those who we've really stalled his career because he could have gone on loan last season and this season and really found himself what kind of forward he is, because he's a big, you'll see him on Saturday, and he's got a massive frame. He should be able to hold the ball up quite easily, but he's very soft on the ball. It gets knocked off it so easily. His touch is horrendous at Premier League level. It really, really is poor, and he doesn't back himself to shoot. You can just see a lad who doesn't really know his game at the minute, and he's almost one of those which you look at and go, he's almost quite happy to be in second gear. He's not really be banging down the door to get game time, which is a shame because he's got all the capabilities and kind of attributes to be able to. But yeah, to be honest with you, I think there's not many, apart from our other forward, Josh Sargent, there's not many other poorer forwards in the league this season. So he won't really be a threat. Hopefully he'll go and score a hat-trick now. I've completely lambasted him, but he's no threat, to be honest, mate.
When you talk about Josh Sargent, he scored 2 goals and 1 assist this season. I mean, another young lad, is it, or just someone who signed?
Yeah, so we bought him for 10 million in the summer, and to be honest, he doesn't look like a professional footballer. Those 2 goals and assists came in kind of the 6-0 drubbing at Bournemouth that was there under 23s equivalently. And again, he's one of those which really, really does look poor. Again, first touches, boy. He's very much an athlete. You can see that he runs around the pitch a lot, very good on the wing in terms of just running. But, you've got 19 other teams and full of players who can run and keep up to the Premier League standard of being able to run. That's all he can do, to be honest with you. He's I don't know how on earth we spent 10 million on him, but again, he's one of those which, if he scores against you, you'll never forget it, because Norwich fans will just they'll laugh more. There's more. Again, he's missed open goals. Missed an open goal against Brighton, and it was an open goal. And I don't know how he's missed it. It's one of those. You watch it on Twitter if you haven't seen it. Just put in Sergeant Brighton and see the Norwich fans meltdown. But yeah, he's one of those which, if he can't score an open goal, I don't back him to score with a decent keeper like Schmeichel in there.
I mean, we're coming to the end now. A couple of questions have come in. One, I think, is quite an interesting one, because I both think we've got the same kind of feeling on this. How do you feel about your owners, Dealer? Because as a Leicester fan, we're privileged to have some of the best owners in the country, I would say. I think you boys are probably privileged. You've got a great set of owners that don't go out and stupid spend the money on players. Try and run your football club within its means and the budgets and your finances of income, from season ticket sales to your sponsorship deals. How do you feel that your club is run compared to Leicester? Or is it a case of Norwich fans get frustration that you don't go and splash the cash as much as you would, and make a challenge, would you say, to be in the Premier League? Do you feel that you are literally come up and we're just making the numbers up for a season in the Premier League some years now, because of how often you've gone up and down in the last 4 seasons?
Yeah, the frustrations are starting to grow a little bit now. I think it's almost, do have to be careful, because like you say, you can never underestimate how brilliant our owners are, because they don't take any money out. Whatever is made from the football club is put back into the football club. It's just we haven't got anything extra. Like you guys have a very, very rich owner. We don't even have an owner that's worth 100 million. It was funny when we were linked with Frank Lampard. His net worth is worth more than our owners, and that disparity is just too much. From with the kind of relegation parachute payments, that's how we keep going back up, really, because without them, we're one of the poorest clubs in the Championship owners wise. I think if there was an option to be able to get someone who had the same ethos and morals of Delia and Michael, with more money, and at least let us compete, I think everyone would be a lot happier. But that's very tricky to do. Look at the likes of Portsmouth, Bury, Macclesfield. You can list off so many, couldn't you? Sunderland as well, who have been so kind of trounced by people wanting that big dream to be able to take a club up to the big leagues. Bolton as well, off the top of my head. All of these owners who have completely muddied the clubs and put them in a horrendous position. We could be a hell of a lot worse off than being yo-yoing. But yeah, it is that frustration there. We think, I just need a bit more financing, because this level is ridiculous now, isn't it? The money, and yeah, that's just what we need now. We just need that little bit more investment to be able to at least compete. Because yeah, it is embarrassing, like you say, those stats at the start of all the awful kind of stats we've got, and it's embarrassing to come on and talk about that. Really,
think about it. You got to do it fairly. You've got to do it sensibly as owners. I look at Fulham a couple of years ago. They spent 140 million on players when they came up and got relegated. Got relegated straight away. Yes, they went back up. Then they got relegated again. But they spent, again, silly amount of money on players, and now they're not struggling. But financially, that club is never going to be in a great state, because the amount of players they're now having to send out on loan to cover the costs of the high wages they were paying for these players coming from Spain and Italy, big names for them. Well, big names in some ways. You're right about clubs being run the right ways. You look at Bolton, you look at Portsmouth, clubs who were flying high in the Premier League for 4, 5, 6 seasons, and then have one bad year and go down, and then suddenly you don't get out of the Premiership Championship in that first year, and the finances suddenly take that little bit more of a grip, and the taxman wants that little bit more money, and you haven't got the income of the TV money, and the parachute payments, are good, but that's only covering your players' wages from the last season anyway. It's good to see another football club being run the right way, and as much as, like you say, it's frustrating. Like I say, until you get an owner who could do the same job with the more money, you won't want to be. Look at Ipswich. Yeah. There's your boys down the road. That big club, and they are a big club. You boys, them, the big clubs who should be in and around the Premier League every year. Sheffield Wednesday, Another big club who've been sitting in the doldrums of League One. You know, there's so many big clubs who'd say they deserve to be in the Premier League, but they won't be until they run correctly. But they've been brought out by big businessmen who thought we can get them in the Premier League. We'll buy League One, like Sheffield Wednesday thought when they're in the Championship. I think the owner came in and I'm going to spend X amount. Well, they got relegated. They broke financial fair play. They got points deductions. We look at Derby County at the moment. A shambles what's happening down the road for them. And, you know, as a Leicester fan, it's not nice to see any football club. Look, Leicester were lucky. And I always say that because the season that was Neil Warnock says we blagged it. And we did blag it because we went into administration and slashed all our debts off and everything like that and still got promoted. And Warnock was fuming, saying, well, there should have been a points deduction. Funny enough, straight away after we got promoted, that the points deduction then came into fray that, oh, well, we can't have another Leicester on our hands. That team's going to write off all the debt when they get up into the Premier League. It's one of those, times have changed that much now, but there's still clubs being penalised. And I don't like the points deduction because I think it's bad for a team. You know, the players haven't deserved that. It's the owners who should be penalised. You're penalising the club even more by basically the likes of Bolton automatically relegating a team. And making their finances even worse off because they'll have less season tickets and less tickets coming through the gate because people aren't going to watch League Two football. Some of the fans will not go and watch it. So, yeah, it is refreshing to see still there is clubs like Leicester, Norwich being run correctly and within the fair mains. I look at Leicester now, we won't go out and spend heavily in the market in January. Brendan's already said that. We haven't got a bottomless pit. We haven't got the money to go and spend. We saw that in the summer when Fofana was injured 5 to 6 days before the season started and we had to go and spend 15 minutes on Vestergaard. We could have got James Carcosti for 30 million. The club said no. We haven't got the money. We can't go and do it. And a lot of Leicester fans are querying, well, hold on a minute, we're flying. Why haven't we got the money? Because the club know the financial fair play regs. They don't want to get caught out. So here's a bit you're not going to want to. Here's a bit you're not going to want to answer.
Oh God.
What is your prediction for the game on Saturday? Or are you praying that the game doesn't go ahead and you can try and get a few players back before the game actually played in maybe I don't know, February or March time if it was to be called off?
Yeah, I think every Norwich fan right now would quite happily say yes. Let's let's
hold it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hold on. Don't even bother, mate.
Is it off?
The phone's just gone mental. Leicester Football Club can confirm that the New Year's Day fixture at home to Norwich has been postponed due to players' availability in the visitor squad.
Yes! Thank God.
I love it. What did I say? We've just done a 30-minute preview show. So I've got to now get you back on.
That's all right.
Before the game comes.
Hopefully, be a lot more positive.
There we go. Let's put it up.
Yeah. Oh,
yes, it is
God.
off. Oh.
Yeah. Thank God for that, because I was going to say score prediction wise, it could have been anything from 3 to 5-0 quite easily. So I'm very happy with that.
Well, that was a great 30 minutes talking about Norwich and your depleted team. And now, thanks to Leicester City, you've been sitting there watching it go, we'll give them till the time and then we'll call it off, lads.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm more than happy with that, mate. Yeah, unfortunately for you guys, it won't be, a guaranteed. It would have really helped your goal difference out because we would have been absolutely battered. So I'm happy.
Gutting. Well, Jacob, on that bombshell, thank you for joining us as always, mate. Much appreciated. We'll have you back on in a few weeks' time when we actually get the game. When we find out we're on, we'll have you back on, mate, if that's all right with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely no problem. Pleasure being on, and look forward to speaking again when hopefully it won't be suspended or postponed, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, thanks for having me on, mate. Much appreciated.
Happy New Year to you anyway, Jacob.
Yes, and you, mate. Have a good one. See you later.
Bye. Well, 30 minutes of talking previews, and there you go, breaking news. The Leicester versus Norwich game is off because Norwich can't field a team, apparently. So that is it for now. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for chucking your questions in. It's been a great laugh. It was great to have Jacob on. Obviously, now the game's off, so we will have to postpone do another preview show for Norwich in a few weeks once the games have been rearranged. But as remember, always, the lads will be on tomorrow night. Reedy will be on, probably talking about Leicester City and the Liverpool game, obviously how that went from the other night. Jamie will be doing his aftermath show on Sunday, talking about probably Liverpool from the other night or injury crisis in the camp ourselves. But once again, thank you for joining me. It's been a great laugh, and we'll see you soon. Keep it all Leicester City LCFC.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. Make sure to follow us on all of our social channels at Leicester Fan TV. Visit our website, leicesterfantv.com.